Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. What's going on with the spot Bitcoin ETFs? How's that going? And we got Brad Garlinghouse, who has been an absolute standout at Davos this year. And you're going to hear a highlighted clips of all the top things that you haven't seen yet from a brand new interview. I tell you, we got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, it is $1.72 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off by 1.8%. 41,300 plus for Bitcoin, 2,400 plus for Ethereum. We see 94.9 billion plus for Tether market cap. 54 cents for XRP right now, off by 1.7 on the 24-hour and off by 8% on the 7-day. Not liking the numbers this morning. Let's look at the range of price. And we're ranging between 54 cents on the bottom and 56 on the top, sitting at 55 cents flat right now at the moment. I do want to remind all of you right now that Link2 is the best home for private equity, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you something. And I tried to tell you, Circle and Ripple are back on the board. And let me tell you something. It's not going to be there for very long. I want to remind everybody, Circle filed the S1 with the SEC to go public. So that, typically speaking, is between like 12 weeks and 6 months. Now, let's factor in another little speculative idea to consider. We hear so many people talking about stablecoin legislation coming in Q1 of this year. Well, that would be by April. Could Circle go public before then, causing the catalyst for Congress to pass legislation? I'm just asking the question. Link to the sponsors underneath the video. All right, what has changed since the spot ETF launched in the United States? Let's hear Stephen McClurg from Valkyrie, who is also the same person who said we should watch out for an XRP ETF in the future. Take a listen.
I think has changed now that these ETFs are live, specifically as it pertains to the perception of crypto?
Yeah, what's interesting is I've spoken to several different institutions out there that oversee financial advisors and platforms. And what I've noticed is a very common thread that clients are calling their advisors asking for access to Bitcoin. And a lot of the advisors are having to say, no, we can't do that just yet. We're still understanding the asset class ourselves. And what a lot of them are telling their clients is that, well, maybe you want a Bitcoin adjacent ETF, such as Bitcoin miners or some other type of Bitcoin ecosystem fund. And that has seemed to be a very popular place for financial advisors to direct their clients while they're still trying to figure out Bitcoin.
So it's all just getting started, and you hear like the curiosity from people who've not been in this space. They're like, hey, how do I just go get this Bitcoin, right? But interestingly enough, let's take a look, because there has been an overwhelming response when it comes to the spot Bitcoin ETFs. In approximately 37 days, BlackRock will pass Grayscale Bitcoin holdings right here. You can see it in 37 days. And there you have it, 25,000 plus shares. That's where you're at right now. This is pretty remarkable here. It says here, it recently made headlines surpassing a net inflow of $1 billion in acquiring more than $25,000 Bitcoin within 4 trading days. It says here, a deeper analysis reveals this acquisition rate. It would reach 592,000 Bitcoin, an equivalent of Grayscale's current holdings, in approximately 178 days, setting a target date around mid-July. However, this analysis would be incomplete without considering concurrent outflows from Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust as well. So you can see the race to who can have the most liquidity and volume in their ETF is on, ladies and gentlemen. Then there's this. Look at VeChain. Shout out to Sonny over at VeChain to launch smart contract wallets connecting billions of people and companies for mass adoption and blockchain leadership. Shout out to them, I tell you. Excited to see what they do. And then here we see highlights here coming from Brad Garlinghouse. I tell you, Brad Garlinghouse was an absolute standout at this year's Davos on multiple panels and interviews. I tell you, if that doesn't signal to you the way the world sees Ripple and I believe the understanding of XRP, the digital asset, I just don't know what else to say. But here is a clip with collage of highlights just from this panel. Well, I had not seen it till this morning, so I'm sure you haven't either, or if not many of you have. So this is nothing but the highlights, and you're going to love every one of them. Take a listen.
I'll echo, I think it's a huge moment. I think if you look at people's interest in the asset class, it's been very high. And look, I think a lot of people don't want to set up a crypto wallet. They don't want to, incur the extra risk of, managing that themselves. And so the Bitcoin ETF, I think, is a very big deal. I think the institutions that are participating, I've been involved in this industry for about 10 years, and, having BlackRock as one of the ETF providers, sponsors, what have you, is a big deal. Added credibility to the whole industry. Look, I think the remarkable thing is that Bitcoin is over $40,000. We've had massive headwinds in 2023. A lot of those were self-inflicted wounds. I was talking to a couple people before the panel. Over the last 18 months, you've had Celsius, Three Arrows, FTX, Binance, and yet here we are, as Michael described, in a really interesting, looking forward position. I'm extremely optimistic about 2024. So I think, if anything, it's an opportunity to step back and really focus on some of the first principles. And what I mean by that is compliance always mattered. I think that we're now at a time, if we want crypto to flourish and achieve some of the things we want it to in the future, I think we have to make sure we stay true to those first principles. We have to make sure we're focused on something more than speculation. Utility has always mattered. I think sometimes we lost sight of that in the fervor. But again, people had, as Michael described, I think it wasn't so many Davoses ago that people were like, Bitcoin's, it's done. Yep. And yet here we are. And I'll just highlight, I think Hong Kong is one of the clear leaders in that ideology. And ironically, of course, I think the U.S. is behind on that in a bunch of ways. I think we would both agree, the SEC was dragged kicking and screaming to approve the Bitcoin ETF.
Amen to that.
Right. I think it's a valid argument. As I said earlier, I think 2024, I think we really do as an industry, and as Michael kind of highlighted, that when you go through these, what we've called crypto winters, it's an opportunity to build. And I think you're seeing more of that. And there are more leading companies emerging. Ripple's now at a place where we have focused on real utility of solving a cross-border settlement problem. We've invested heavily in the custodial area. Circle, who I know is in the audience, has definitely demonstrated a real-world use case. I think Fluency, we're solving problems that people see with these technologies. But I agree, what has driven the non-crypto, crypto winters are a reaction to an overhyped cycle of euphoria, enthusiasm, which is just speculation. And I think what we haven't seen yet that I still think we will eventually see is a separation of wheat and chaff of, what are the assets, how are these technologies being used to solve real problems that have real demand versus ones, I'll pick on Dogecoin. I don't get it. Other than Elon Musk as the central actor, I don't see the use case and the purpose. And I'm sure I'll get lots of shit for saying that Dogecoin's not, but oh well. Yeah.
I just want to take a second to say, it's nice because here on the channel, since the running up to the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETFs, I don't know if you picked up on it, but I've been trying to set the narrative of the contrast between investment products, speculative investment products, to the contrast of digital assets that have utility. I've even done a few videos where I've tried to say, okay, now we're changing gears and moving to the use case utility side of things and moving away from the conversation of the spot Bitcoin ETF, which is exciting too, but it is being defined as an investment speculative product, where the conversation with assets like XRP, however, are more about providing use case utility inside of a financial system. Again, Brad's making that point here on stage. So that tells us, to me, what I take from that is that tells us we're seeing this market the same way as he is describing as well. And that makes me feel good as an investor in this space to understand on that level, right, that we're seeing the market in the same way, at least in that regard.
I'll just throw out real quick. I think some of the coolest stuff going on that's nascent around real utility use cases is happening outside the United States in places like Hong Kong or Singapore or Dubai, where there is clear regulatory frameworks. Most of the people who work in crypto want to follow the rules. There have to be clear rules. We talk a lot about the US regulatory environment for good reasons. But I think sometimes we don't talk enough about all of the constructive stuff going on outside the US, including Thailand.
Yeah.
I'll throw out one quick reaction. In your question, you said something about, how is it different? And I'll say, I think the question is wrong. Like, it's not different. KYC, know your customer, still matters. Anti-money laundering still matters. In the US, you have OFAC and other, I can't name all the acronyms. But I think if we start with the point of view that it's different, it's like, I think the secretary said earlier, if it's the same, let's regulate it the same. So I don't think it's that different. The other thing is a slightly off topic, but that we glanced over. One of the things I think will happen if I were to predict 2024 and beyond, as big money, institutional money comes in, right now we have one ETF. I think people look at it as an asset class, and I think you will see other ETFs come. And by the way, this is an area where the US is behind. Europe has had effectively a Bitcoin ETF for a few years. And I think you're going to see that spread because people often, particularly if you're in an endowment or an institution, you're not buying one stock. You're not buying one bond. You're buying a basket and you're diversifying that risk.
Subject to certain regulations, say, for example, exposure to have virtual assets in their portfolio.
I'll throw out, I think the harmonization, I think, partly happens, I'll use Ripple as an example. We added well over 200 people last year, and something like 75-80% were non-US, in part because, why are we hiring people in the US where you have a hostile regulator? On the acceptance, I don't have the same optimism as Paul expressed, only because I actually personally was debanked by a US bank, where I think they're like, hey, he's in crypto, we're cutting him off. And this is a scary thing when you think about the implications of that. But you have in the OCC, as you know well, a pretty hostile viewpoint. And when they go, as an OCC, the national regulator in the US for national banks, when they speak negatively of crypto and publish that, the banks pull back. I continue to believe, unfortunately, and I think, frankly, a Circle IPO would help provide some of the clarity because it would drive, I think, likely stablecoin legislation in the United States, which would be a good thing.
There you have it.
But I remain pretty pessimistic about the U.S., which is why Ripple is largely focused on non-U.S. customers.
There you have it. And shout out to XRP Drops. Give him a follow there for that incredible clip with all those highlights. And shout out to Brad for sharing his insights. He's absolutely crushed it at Davos. Now, with that point to his highlighted conversation there, what do we know? Is that we need to see some action taken by Congress and or the Treasury. And this is what this article is talking about right here. Treasury officials call for action from U.S. policymakers to regulate crypto before the next crisis hits. This leans into the understanding about Dodd-Frank Act, ladies and gentlemen. National Bank Act, said the Treasury Assistant Secretary, Financial Institutions, Graham Steele. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because, again, we're looking at where we are and where we've come over the years. Dodd-Frank, right? FSOC is where Dodd-Frank birthed FSOC, Financial Stability Oversight Council, from. The idea that we're supposed to see FSOC intervene for something that is a national threat to financial security. It has the power to do so without Congress's approval. So you can see the tug of war that's taking place, right? Where one part of Congress wants FSOC to do the work. Another part of Congress doesn't want to write the legislation because they want to let the courts decide it. And then once they get enough precedent in legal rulings, then they write legislation. They're in no hurry. There's no hurry here. That's the problem. However, to Brad's point, going to the idea of stablecoin legislation, I think it is highly likely that Circle could serve as a catalyst with its IPO, inspiring Congress to say, listen, we've got a company going public that issues private stable coins. It's not exactly USD Tether. We need to get legislation passed so we can finally have a framework that allows the financial institutions to benefit from said digital money like private stable coins. Isn't it? Instantly, banks will become 24/7, 365 with the onset of stablecoin legislation. And when there's stablecoin legislation, there will be no more of the OCC telling everyone behind the scenes, don't even think about crypto or digital assets. Don't even dream it, right? All that's going to be done. But the thing is Congress could do this, but they haven't done it because they're lazy. And even more than lazy, they're bought and paid for. That's the real reason they're lazy. In order to honor the lobbyists and the big money, the big financial money, banking and all of this, like Elizabeth Warren, they've got to put up the fight. They got to put up the fight to stop it all. Because those are the big donors to those people. But that's because they're not fighting for people, they're fighting for banks. It's very easy, right? Meanwhile, let's take a look at this very quickly here. It's Dark Defender that says, hello all. Crypto haters are happy to see the current bleeding in them and shorting bloodthirstily. It is tedious and frustrating for most of us waiting to see $1 above figures for years. But on the other hand, the people here since early stages made lots of profits. Digital assets are not similar to other assets' behavior dynamics. In crypto, the corrections as well as the appreciations are immense compared to regular assets. It is repetitive for me to say XRP is still ranging between the same Fibonacci levels with no change. And that means 52 cents, 46 cents, and 39 cents are the support, and resistance at $66, $1.88, and $5.85. So notice, those supports can fall to 52, 46, and 39. If it falls to 46 and 39, I'm buying the rest of it. To hell be damned, right? That's it. The current horizontal zone is between 66 and 52 cents, and this is normal until 39 cents. The final resistance is the dip of wave 2. Let me tell you, if it goes to 39 cents, I am backing up the truck, baby. Oh, boy. And Mrs. Backup just walked in the room. Say something, Mrs. Backup.
Backing up the truck for what?
Yeah, we're going. Yeah, I got caught, ladies and gentlemen. Mrs. Backup walked in while I'm recording, and I'm telling you, I'm going to back the truck up. Now, the biggest XRP troll in the world is not happy about any of this. She's like, oh, we're going to buy more, and the price is going down. Interesting, right?
That's time to buy.
I tell you, every couple has this, right? I think, especially, this is one of the reasons you got to come to XRP Las Vegas so we can all connect together because, help me. That's all I can say. I can't stop buying the stuff. She can't stop complaining about it. What are we going to do here, right? Anyway, to finish this thought here, the final resistance is the dip of wave 2, expanded C wave. Whether people accept it or not, crypto is here to stay. That's right, Mrs. Backup. Crypto is here to stay. And XRP is one of the leading instruments in the world. Damn right, Dark Defender. These swings are the nature of crypto, and this is much horizontal movement. And monumentous, or mountainous, sorry, excuse me. And it says here, but we'll end for sure. We'll still see the target. And same structure below, and here is the chart that we all know so well that aims for $18, $36 and more. But we got to be able to stomach the losses and the pullbacks in order to see those massive crypto gains. I've seen them before, and I didn't take them either time that it happened, but I will not miss the opportunity this time. That is not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. Now, we're getting ready to head into the Freedom Zone, so I got to let the rest of you go. But you're going to want to be in there today because we're going to get inside of it. Bill Gates, what is he up to? What's his plan? What's his strategy? You're not going to like it, but we're going to show it to you because it's better that you know it than that you don't. And we're going to get into that right now.